Welcome back to the treehouse. We're the fallen fruit. And today we're offering you a special episode. Today we are interviewing Lynette Ramos. She's a quantum healer, quantum hypnotherapist healer. And Lynette is an old soul with lots of gifts, seeing between the dimensions of time.
Yeah. One of the dopest, for sure. Dopest people I've ever met. And I'm so glad I get to experience you in this lifetime.
Oh, you guys are like building up my ego before we start.
We are.
Thank you.
We should.
We're hyping it up. Y'all should be hyped. Like, get hyped. You're about to find out more about Lynette.
Get hyped.
I love you guys.
And also today is the full moon in Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm.
And Lynette, are you a Sagittarius Rising?
I am. And what I think is cool about it, and I'm still learning about it, but it's conjunct the galactic center, the womb of the universe. So I think I have a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
I think,
learning how to work with that energy.
You set up a high trajectory for yourself in this lifetime.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. So do you want to share with us a little bit about your background?
Yeah. So let's see. Let's just start with high school because I think that's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I went to Catholic school most of my life. And then in high school, I ended up going to a public school. And I realized that there weren't as many rules. And then so I kind of took advantage of that. So I had a lot of fun in high school. But that's where kind of a lot of the challenges started. You know, I started dealing with depression. I started dealing with kind of like how the ugliness between women, you know, jealousy, hatred, drama. I didn't really deal with that before. So that's where I think things got interesting. And I had a lot of fun with weed and alcohol. So I was really rebellious. Like I was a terrible teenager. I don't know how my parents dealt with me. I was a horrible person, but
No.
So yeah, I really was.
You're a great person.
Well,
You turned out all right.
I was a horrible person. But so anyway, I went through that. Had my son young. I had him when I was 21 with a person that I shouldn't have necessarily had on paper a child with, but my son is who he is, right? Because of who I was with at that point. So that's fine too. So my son and I really super blessed because it's like him and I are best friends. So he kind of straightened me out, right? When you have kids, it's like, whoa, you know, I need to reevaluate some things. What's going on? Where am I going? Where am I not? So when I had him, that really woke me up. So yeah, from that point, I really was trying to do a lot of cleanup around that time, meaning like I was doing a lot of researching around like depression and my mental state and why I experienced some of the stuff I did and, you know, doing a lot of reading. So that really propelled me into kind of where I am today in terms of learning about the mind-body connection and the esoteric world and the unseen. So yeah, I went to a school on the West Coast online called the University of Metaphysical Sciences. So it taught about really so many topics, but you weren't necessarily specialized in any one, but it just helped you prepare to like be a spiritual mentor, counselor. So I learned about like world religion, astrology, shadow work, inner child work, rituals, all of that. So I did that. And then
where was that school when I needed it?
Yeah, I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, it was really cool. That was one of the things I had on my vision board for a couple years. So when I was actually able to afford to go and got like a bachelor's or certificate from there, it was really dope. It took me a while to get there. So yeah, from that point, a few years later, just to kind of give you some highlights, I entered into a relationship around 27, 28, so around my Saturn return. And that was kind of like the atomic bomb in my life.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was, I think, a karmic relationship. So just to give you an example, I went from being super independent and, you know, just on my shit, like just feeling like I knew what I was doing and all of that, to the point where I allowed someone to tell me what to wear, what not to wear, where to go. So that kind of took things into it kind of detoured some things. So anyway, I learned that was a really pivotal point in my life. So I learned a lot about myself, and I came to a point where it was like one day I woke up and I didn't know who I was.
Wow.
Like I literally was like, how did I get here? Because things like that don't happen overnight, right? When it's like slowly you break down. So anyway, that was a gift in a sense, because I feel like that was the beginning of, and we talk a lot about the dark goddess on this podcast, but that was the point where everything kind of went black, went to that 0 point.
Wow.
So I had to build myself up. So for this, I'm still in that process of rebuilding. But anyway, that led me into like, my healing work, my work with plant medicine. So that kind of gave, those are some of the highlights.
Would you say that was like your dark night of the soul kind of thing?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I had no idea how I let myself get to that point. Like I hadn't really loved anyone before. So when I met this person, I loved him so much. Like the first day that I met him, it was at, there was a temple that I used to go to, and this temple was run by the first priestess I've ever met. I grew up Catholic, so to meet a woman that was a priestess was like dope, right?
Yeah.
And so we had a gathering, and this was her son. And so the first time she introduced us, and I couldn't speak. Like there was something between us that just something as simple as, hey, what's up? My name's Lynette. How are you? I could barely speak. So I said like 1 or 2 sentences to him and left because I was so overwhelmed. And 2 weeks later, she's like, hey, do you, my son, wanted to kind of meet you. And she introduced us. And so that first day that I met him, I went home and told my sister that I met my husband, even though I only spoke 2 sentences to him.
Wow.
So that kind of shows whatever connection we had from before. So, yeah.
And you still work with that woman, right?
I work with him.
Okay.
And we've actually known each other for over 14 years. And so there was a long time where I blamed him for a lot. He was like the person, my scapegoat. So all this stuff, he did some bad stuff. But so did I. Yeah. So did I. But the point is that all the places that I gave my power away, I blamed him for it. And so we've taught each other a lot. I learned a lot from him about where did I give my power away? Why did I give my power away? And so we're in a better place. We're really good friends, but we're still working through some of that stuff.
I had a question, and I just wanted to know, you talk about plant medicine, and I know you personally, because we've had this discussion, have done a lot of work with it and traveled a lot to experience it. Mm-hmm. So which of the varieties of plant medicine is your favorite and why?
Great question.
It's interesting because I think ayahuasca, I think that there's this energy of mother. It has a feminine energy. It's considered like the grandmother. So it's this relationship that I have with her that is really, really deep, but there's also a lot of respect because it has brought me some of the most difficult points in my life. So it's an interesting relationship. So I would have to say ayahuasca, but it's a complex relationship.
She's fierce.
Like most mother-daughter relationships.
Oh my gosh, she's fierce. She's brought me to my knees and beyond. Yeah.
Dope.
So, Stephanie had this question, but I'm gonna just swoop on in.
No, you can take it. Go for it.
So what was your best trip, and what was kind of your worst hallucinogenic experience, and what was gleaned from these two?
So in this particular weekend, I was actually in the States, so this wasn't an international retreat. And I had one ceremony that I don't remember a lot about, but I remember during the ceremony not knowing what was up or down, where I had vomited all over myself.
Was this ayahuasca?
This was ayahuasca. And so it was very difficult, but I don't remember a lot of visuals. It was just very physically taxing. And when I was done with it, I had the sense that I had fought a dragon. Like it was almost like life or death, but I had won, but it wasn't easy. But I realized that part that I was fighting was myself. It's difficult to understand. It's difficult to put these things into words. It's an experience, but it was really difficult.
So wait, just a sidetrack for some of our listeners who might not be as familiar with plant medicine. So ayahuasca seems like kind of a fierce consciousness that's like, it can be like fierce, but also like extremely healing. Why would someone want to put themselves through something like a ceremony, like a plant ceremony?
Well, in my particular case, because I had dealt with depression for a long time, because I had went through a really traumatic, abusive relationship. I've had certain sexual traumas when I was young. And so I knew that the talk therapy that I had went through and some of the other ways of healing, I thought were beneficial, but they only took me to a certain point. And so, and in addition to that, I have like, tracks of mental health issues in my family. So like depression runs deep, anxiety, you know, those types of things. So I just knew there was a point in my life that I knew that there was something that I was supposed to do that was big. I just didn't know what it was. But yeah, so someone who has traumas, those are ways to clear, because what it is a lot of, when I talk about like the physical aspect of it, it helps to clear your energy field too. So those things that we keep in the body, it's clearing that as well.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So in this case, after this specific journey that was really difficult, I had another journey a day after. So I had one night in between, and I just felt there's no fucking way I can go through another ceremony. Like I don't have the energy, and not to mention the fear is high, because you go into something that once you drink, it's basically 2 plants that they boil together that you drink. Once you drink, there's no, all right, I'm done. You're in for the long haul, and you're in until the medicine is done, so to speak. But anyway, I was like, oh, you know what? I came here. I'm going to go through it again. So anyway, I went through the ceremony, and there was a point in the ceremony that I felt victorious. Like I felt like, oh my gosh, I overcame everything. I felt this sense of joy, like, yes. Then all of a sudden, the shaman, I can kind of see him. He was off to the left. And I felt like he was connected with me in that moment. And what he did, or what happened with the medicine, is that time started again. So it was like I was in the ceremony for a few hours, but it was almost like the medicine was like, we're going back to the beginning. So all of the pain, all of the challenge started all over again.
Wow.
And so what happened is that the medicine told me that I was supposed to learn how to hold space for everyone that was there. So when everyone was done journeying, I was still in it, because it started all over again.
Wow.
And so it was really difficult. What was beautiful about it, though, is that everyone had left, and I was in this building by myself. And if you can imagine, you're psychically and energetically open. So I was a little bit afraid because it was really dark, but I could smell, it's something that we use in the Puerto Rican tradition, and amongst others, it's called alcolado. And I kept smelling it, and I knew that my ancestors were there, like healing me, and they were like comforting me, but it was difficult. And so, it was really hard for me, because it was like 2 ceremonies of just feeling like I was getting my ass kicked. So.
And then you got 2 trips for the price of one.
Exactly. And you know what, that trend, what they taught me was that I was going to learn how to manipulate time, that I was going to be able to manage it more than just in this 3D physicality. So I'm not sure if I've done that yet, but I'm supposed to be able to learn how to do that. And that trend is kind of played out in my life, where when I get to a point where I think I've succeeded, there's more. So I think it was preparing me I don't know if it was gentle, but it was preparing me for being in life, and knowing that sometimes you don't know when a certain cycle is over. You have to be prepared to go again.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And so which one was that part of your best?
I would say the best was after a ceremony. It was actually the year before, after we were done, but you can still feel the effects of the medicine, but it wears off. And everyone was either singing, people were taking turns singing and playing their instruments. And if you can think about someone who's a singer, right? And then think about that person working with the medicine, think about how their voice is going to be like this healing tool. And so it's like the music, it was like alive. And it was like the drums, and I think it's called the didgeridoo. Like people were playing all of these instruments, and it literally felt angelic in a sense. And it was like after this difficult night of the medicine. And then at the end, it was like you turned to bliss.
Wow.
So that was, to me, it was a sense of like accomplishment after the difficulty.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So on the plant medicine front, is there any kind of substance that you tried that was like pretty obscure?
In terms of the medicine, I've tried and worked with ayahuasca, San Pedro, which is the cactus, which is considered like the masculine aspect. Like,
is that like peyote or?
It's different.
It's different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just
and I've worked with there was a couple other, but these are smaller. These are kind of preparatory medicines, but I've never really worked with anything that I didn't. Oh, I know what I don't necessarily appreciate. I think it's called a rapé, and they blow it up your nose. Oh, yeah. That shit is intense. Like, it's something that people use to go into a ceremony. It's like preparatory, and I'm not really a fan of it. I didn't really like that. And I've worked with psilocybin or mushrooms. So for the most part, the medicines that I've worked with have been difficult in some aspects, but fine. Yeah.
You made it. I mean, you're here.
Yeah.
So
I'm here.
Didn't kill her, people. She's still here.
Yep. Yep.
I have another question, kind of veer maybe back on something you obviously talked about, was being a mother.
Yeah.
But do you think being a mother had anything to do with you wanting to learn the modalities of healing and wanting to become a healer?
Yeah. I feel like my son, I do feel like he saved me in a lot of ways. You know, I think a lot of mothers, or young mothers especially, feel that way.
I mean, I do as well.
Yeah, like I feel like he did, and he made me want more, because like a lot of people in the spiritual community that I talk about being psychic when they were young, and I was just a mess when I was young. Like, I liked to party. I was like,
we were too high and drunk to know if we were psychic.
Like, I didn't have that experience. No. I had like a little bit of a darker, more chaotic experience. But the point is that, yeah, it made me want to be better for him. And he was just so amazing. And I just would look at him and just be like, man, like everything that I've gone through, everything that I've had to sacrifice is like, it's nothing in comparison to the way I feel about him. So yeah, he was definitely a catalyst for me wanting to live a better life, for sure.
Oh.
So Lynette, you are a hypnotherapist. How did you get connected with hypnotherapy? Was there like a synchronistic event that happened?
When I came back from the journey that I talked about, where there were 2 nights that I had a tough time, when I came back, even though I had a really tough time, I was like, more people could use this medicine. Like, as difficult as it is, I feel like more people could use it. But I also knew that that wasn't for everyone. And so I was like, man, I want to be the medicine. Like, I wish that I could find a technique where I could help people do some of the more deeper work. And I just, you know how you watch one YouTube video and then it leads you to another and then another.
You're in a wormhole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I came across Dolores Cannon, and she is the creator of the quantum healing technique. And so anyway, listening to her story, she started doing hypnotherapy back when they were doing it just for like weight loss and relaxation. And she started to see her clients experiencing other lives. So their voices would change, their personalities would change. And she was like, what is going on? And she was very open-minded, and she was curious. That's what she considered herself to be. She's transitioned. So anyway, when I started reading up on her and how people were coming to these sessions and people were having these miraculous healings, and even if they weren't having instant healings, they were experiencing these big shifts in their lives. And I knew that I wanted to do it. I knew that it was, I consider quantum healing like the precursor to medicine work. Like, to me, this is as quote unquote deep as you can get without help from the plants or fungi. So that's what was so resonant about the technique.
Yeah, and some people who maybe don't have access to the plant medicine or don't feel comfortable with, like, I mean, legalities, if we want to go there, they might feel more comfortable doing something like hypnotherapy.
Exactly. And I'm reluctant to say this, but I am doing more facilitation on all fronts. And some clients that are ready to do the medicine work, I will work with them, but I will generally start with the quantum healing because it helps me to understand where they are, what they need, how they handle these altered states. And so it's kind of like a prerequisite. So before I work with someone in the facilitation of said medicine, we start with that.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Also, going back to, you talk about your teenage years and maybe even before that, experiencing some traumas and things from when you were little. If there was one thing, like one piece of advice you could go back and give your younger self, having experienced all that you've experienced and know what you know now through your journey, what would that advice be?
It's difficult because I could say self-love, but that's not something that you can tell someone. Mm-hmm. It's something that has to be experienced. Yeah. And so for me, I know like my relationship with my father was challenging. My relationship with some of the men in my life were challenging. And I feel like a lot of that had to do because I didn't honor my own wants and who I was. So I think, and I think that goes back to Stephanie, and you may be able to understand this, like Latinas, we, my grandfather or my father was born in Puerto Rico. So we're like is that considered like we're first generation? Right. Yep. So, we didn't have the college grads. We didn't have any of that, so like my grandmother went to third grade. So you can imagine the way that women are viewed, and I feel like I was very rebellious with my father because he wanted me to be a certain way. And, so as an example, instead of your father telling you, hey, this is what you should expect from a man, it's you're being a whore because you're hanging out with guys. Yeah. So it's like, instead of looking for that confidence and that nurturing so that I know what to expect from a man or what I should require, it was more like I was being torn down.
Yeah.
And so it was a painful process of learning how to come back from that. And, I'm not upset with my father. I mean, he knows what he knows, right? He was groomed to be that way in a sense. And, I think we've all grown. But that was a big pain point.
Yeah. And so it seems like kind of like your rebellion from when you were younger kind of shifted form, and now you're trying to like break the mold with like these, cutting edge, alternative, very effective healing modalities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, I identify with the wounded healer archetype, some people who facilitate, they keep a distance, like I'm the facilitator, this person is the client, where I cry with my clients. I'm going through it, like I'm there with them. I can feel when they're going through something, and I can also feel when there's beautiful energy there, and I can share in that too. So even now, if I were to practice any of these healing modalities, assuming that I was healed, I wouldn't do it because I'm still not. I'm definitely, I have something to share. I think I have a gift to share, and I think people can learn from me.
You do.
But I'm still figuring it out, and I'm still, vulnerable and fragile in other ways too. But I think that that's part of my gift, right? Is that I'm not separate. I can just say, hey, I feel like I am someone who can help bridge the worlds. So I walk and I'm connected with the unseen, and I'm here on earth. And I just think I can help people come to that place where they can integrate and be in contact with both. But it doesn't mean that I'm still not a work in progress. So
that's beautiful, beautiful awareness. And also I think it's like a beautiful embodiment of your Pisces. So Lynette's also a Pisces sun, and Pisces is a dual sign. So here you are like walking between worlds and taking that full embodiment, because a lot of times I think some people have a hard time stepping into that role because they're like, well, what's real, what's not? And for you to just with utmost confidence and authority and just saying like, I am a bridge between these two worlds. This is my gift. I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a Pisces moon too, so I don't know if I could escape that.
No, that was your calling card from day one.
Right. But it's crazy because like for a long time, like most of my career has been like in sales, like sales, I sold mortgages. So, you know, like I was making really, really good money, and then I'd be like, fuck this job. And people would look at me like, are you fucking nuts? Like, why'd you just walk away from this? So I've had a lot of instability in my life financially because I tried to be that 9-to-5er. I tried to be that, and I just couldn't. Like, I would be sick, and then I would quit, and then I would try to do something else, and I'd try to come back into that quote unquote life. So I've had a lot of the in and the out of trying to figure out how do I, like, I've always said, like, I don't know how to operate here sometimes. Like, I'm not sure if I understand these earthly rules as much. So I'm learning
how to be a human.
Yeah. Thank you for joining the rest of us. So you asked Stephanie a really great question. So I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Which dark goddess do you identify with the most?
I think I feel the most connected with Auset or Isis. I had I guess you'd call it past life or other life experience where I was a healer in the village, and I would help people obviously with like healing, but I also was considered like the equalizer. So if there was someone who was doing like dark magic or causing chaos in the village or not a nice person, I would take care of that person too. So I think Auset has that, both sides of her. She's a representative of the mother and the nurturer, but she also has that other fierce side to her. And so I just really resonate with that. Like, I feel like she brings both of those together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do see that in you. Real quick. God bless it. So like thinking about healing, like we never think about like healing when we're younger, or, you know, like that's even a thing we can do. We're always like princess, firefighter, teacher. But like what did you want to be when you grow up? And like, what did you imagine your life looking like? And how different is it now?
It's interesting. I wanted to be an astronaut.
You weren't even trying to stay on Earth
regardless.
Yeah.
I don't even know why that I don't even remember enough. That's another thing. I don't know what it is about me, but I don't have a good memory. Like there's so many things I don't remember, so I'm not sure what
because
that's
your
about.
Dimension is beyond this dimension where
probably
time
when you were
doesn't
little,
exist.
like you probably weren't here a bunch. Like, you know what I mean? Like spiritually and psychically.
Yeah. But I definitely thought like I would be like Beverly Clear. What's her name? Beverly Cleary?
Yeah.
I'm just fucking it all up. But anyway, I just thought I would be like a mom and a wife making arroz con gandule. And I'm not any of that. Like it's weird because I think that I was born to really, Stephanie, we had your interview earlier and you talked about breaking the systems and kind of creating a new way. I definitely think I was born to do that. But in doing that, my life is like an example of like, kind of like it's been chaotic. So, you know, I didn't follow, like I had a son when I was young, but I didn't have that traditional relationship. I didn't buy a house. Like I'm still growing. And it's weird because on one hand, I look at my life now and say, damn, I'm not where I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. I'm not. But then at the same time, like at my age, I'm 42, I feel like I'm on the up. Like a lot of people around my age feel like they're on the down, mm-hmm. and I feel like I'm on the up. Like I feel
That's
energetic. Awesome. I feel strong as I did when I was 20, probably more. So it's weird. It's this dynamic of, wow, I still have some stuff to do, but I feel amazing in my body. I feel young. And
people peak at different times. Yeah. And it's like, well, what defines success? Because say you had stayed in that other path of sales and like you had a house and all that and live in this Barbie fake life. It's like, would you be like really satisfied then?
No,
would you measure your success that way? And it's like, here you are like living an authentic path. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think that that's something to really be proud of.
Yeah, it helped me to work through shame. I think a lot of women deal with shame on some level. And that's something that I've been working through, because it's weird. Like sometimes I can feel other people making judgments and it's hard, right? But at the same time, like I don't have like, I'm not apologetic about it, because I really do feel like I'm following my path, even though sometimes I don't know where things are going. I think it's that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, it's like that Piscean energy where it's like I have to trust without seeing it. I have to really move in a way where I don't have any physical evidence. It's really just about like intuitively where I'm going. So I even forgot what your original question was.
That's okay. That's because you went outer space for a little bit, came back.
But yeah, it was what you wanted to be when you grow up.
Yeah. So it's definitely like right now I feel like things are still cooking.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm excited about it and I wish it would hurry the fuck up. But you know, I feel like things are still cooking. I still feel, no matter what craziness is going, I still feel like really optimistic of
That's
where things are going.
Rising.
Yeah.
We're always optimistic.
Yeah.
Yes, always. So speaking of like your spiritual connection and everything like that, do you have any like guardians or deities or ancestors that you feel like are guiding you and helping you assist you on your mission?
Who's on your spirit council?
I really do think Osset is, I actually had a medicine experience where she came to me and basically gave me a smackdown, like, oh, you feel like you're my daughter. You feel like you are one of my priestesses. So she reminded me of the places in my life where I wasn't acting like it. So she basically showed me like, if this is who you say that you are, you have to move in this way and you have to make sure that you are who you say you are, that you walk in that same way. So I feel like she is, and I feel a real strong connection with Pachamama or Mother Earth. There's something there. Again, she came to me through the medicine. I feel like I am like a steward. Like she told me to bring people to the medicine. So that's part of my goal and part of the work that I'm doing, not pushing it. You know what I mean? Like not trying to shove it down people's throats, but just genuinely knowing who's attracted to it. And if someone comes to me, then I can help connect the dots. And ancestrally, I feel like it's my grandmothers from my father's side are really present with me. And I've been told, and I don't know, like I'm not a seer. That's another thing. Like I don't see energies or anything like that, but I've been told that there's a really strong male guardian with me all the time, that he's really powerful, but I don't know him. So I feel this connection, but I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I know this being or that being or that being.
Yeah.
With the exception of Osset, I really feel like I'm not sure, but they're very present. I just don't think that they give me any sort of personality or story to kind of hang on to.
So with being like as multidimensional as you are, do you feel like you're also like an empath?
Yeah. I could watch a show about serial killers. I love like Dateline. I love like, I can, watch something about a serial killer and he's telling his story and I can feel such empathy for him. Like, wow, you didn't get here and you didn't murder 10 people because you were loved. You murdered 10 people because you were abused and you were tortured and you are a product of your environment. So I can definitely sometimes, where someone would be like, oh, have him burn in hell. And I'm like, damn, I wish I can take him to like an ayahuasca ceremony and help him get rid of some of that,
That's like a high expression of being a Pisces.
Yeah.
It's just like empathy for everyone.
Yeah, like I saw this, there was this, I'm not sure of the group, but it's a prison project where they actually take certain prisoners into some of these ceremonies in Brazil. And people
awesome.
like I really, like honestly, like I know that's way far from where we are, but I mean, I think that we would be in a different place. Like even driving through like some of the inner city, you see like churches and churches and churches, and I'm just like, damn, if we had like ayahuasca like churches,
yeah, temples.
We would be living in the highest vibe type of. It just would be different, and so I wish we had more of that.
What if like you could facilitate a ceremony for like all of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
You know that Graham Hancock talks about that. He's like a writer and
Oh yeah, I love him.
yeah, he's an advocate of the medicine, and he talked about that like every politician should have like X amount of ayahuasca ceremonies before they can take office.
Right.
I think he's onto something.
So what do you see where do you see yourself going? As you said, you're like a steward for the medicine. So where do you see yourself steering the ship? How do you see yourself in maybe 5-10 years? Like, what's your role in this? Because it is sort of like blowing up too. There's like trendy ass, Instagram ayahuasca ceremonies, which obviously don't go to those. They ain't gonna you're not gonna get what you need. But like with even mushrooms or psilocybin becoming legal, or not legal, but decriminalized in say like Denver and Oakland, like where do you see yourself in this new journey of plant medicine in America?
I haven't traveled as much as I want, but just based on where I've been so far, I would love to be in Colombia on the coast. I'd love to have a property with small houses where I could host people. So people would come and let's say do psilocybin, where I'd facilitate that, or I would have shamans coming in to facilitate other medicines and just have people come and experience nature, like outside of the medicine, helping with integration work, like hiking or doing cleanses and rituals in the ocean. So just having people come and really feeling like, hey, come spend a week or two with me and then go back into your life and you'll be completely different. Doesn't mean all your problems will vanish, but you're going to be in a different mind state. And then, maybe running an Airbnb business as well. But I either want to be in Colombia or somewhere like that, at least for half the time. I want to be able to leave when it gets cold.
Sign me up.
Me too, right? When I get this book tour money, I'm coming for a few weeks,
cool.
Because
sessions.
I would love to do something like that, like once a year, just like get away, take some plant medicine,
get
be with
away.
Nature. Yeah. In all the dimensional
in all the
senses.
dimensions.
Yeah, and even if people don't want to do the medicine, they can come and have quantum healing sessions, but still partake in like the rituals and the ceremonies. And I also want to incorporate like music festivals. So that's a big part of the ceremony is like the music. So like having people come, let's say for a week, and then we finish that week off with like a massive fucking festival where we like dance and party and just so it's so intense, right? So to be able to end a week or two with just like a party and just having fun, I just feel like it's a way to re-enter life from all the intensity.
Yeah. Getting that serotonin back up.
Exactly.
So kind of on that note, like, do you have like a vision for the future, like for the world?
I would like to see more people admit that shit is not all great. I think most of us, and I'm not saying we need to go around like telling everyone like our most vulnerable secrets, but I really sense that like more and more people need to come to their own healing in their own way. It doesn't have to be the medicine. It could be whatever. But the point is that I want people to, instead of running from their traumas or what they perceive their demons to be, is to find a safe way to address them. Because I just feel like what we're doing is we're not addressing things and then we're just handing them off to our kids and hoping that I don't even think we think about it. There was a client that I had a couple weeks ago that had a quantum healing session, and he wanted to have one before he was going to be married because he's like, he had some stuff that he had to deal with and he wanted to clear that up before entering into a marriage and having children. I thought that was so beautiful. Aww. Like, why don't more of us do that? And so I would like to just see people finding safe ways to address their stuff and just, working on if we work individually on ourselves, obviously we'll start to see like the ripple effect. So
beautiful.
I love that.
Beautiful. So what can you share with us about what you have going on right now? Like how you're plugging in and offering to the community?
Yeah. Right now, let me just take a step back and say that I've taken like some business courses and about presence on social media and building your mailing list. And there's a part of me that understands the importance of that, but there's a part of me that is just really wanting to connect with people one-on-one. So I feel like my work lately, like I'm even stepping away from certain events and workshops. I'll still do some, but I've been really just connecting with people one-on-one. I really want to offer that more, and also offer like the facilitation of the medicine. And so I feel like because that work is, it's so intimate and there's still a lot of stigma around it. So I don't know if social media is the best way. It's almost like the people that are coming to me are connected with me, and I feel like I'm able to reach them and get referrals in that way more than just posting on social media. I don't feel like the message can be really conveyed. So just recently, I've just been really working on just the individual connection. And I've also made some connections with some doctors that are sending their clients to me so that I can help them work through the emotional aspect of it. So I'm just happy about those connections that I'm making.
Beautiful.
So if somebody wants to connect with you, how would they do it?
I have a website, LynetteRamos.com. That's probably the best way, just because it has like my bio and my services. And I've been getting some good feedback about the website because this work is so deep and intimate, people can kind of get a sense of who I am. And sometimes when people even come to the website, they tell me that they feel overwhelmed. So it's almost like they can feel this internal shift starting to take place. And sometimes it's like they want to schedule, and a lot of them eventually do, but it's almost like they know, like, oh man, something's happening here. They can feel it.
It's that dark goddess energy.
Yeah. So I love people to go to the website and just get a taste of who I am, and also welcome people to email me, because sometimes, the website isn't enough. You can book right online, but sometimes they want to talk to me and ask questions on the phone, which is exactly
How do you
perfect.
spell it though?
Sure. It's Lynette, LYNETTE, Ramos, RAMOS.com.
Awesome. So how else? And then you're also on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
Lynette, LYNETTE.Maris, which is my middle name, MARIS, and the number 3.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been so lovely. Thank you so much for opening up to us about, some of your background and some of your passions about plant medicine. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
I just, I invite people to, if they feel resonant with my work, to reach out. I think that it's interesting because one of the reasons, or one of my passions, is to connect with my community, the Latinos, the inner city. And I feel like a lot of us have been taught to invest in our outside and physical world. So we look good, our nails are done, our cars are nice, but inside we're broken. And I feel like I want to be, just want to be a guide and kind of a helper. So I just invite people that if they feel resonant with my work, to reach out and not to be afraid. I'm not one who judges. I didn't get here because things went well all the time. Things were intense. And so I feel like my clients aren't coming from the community that I love. It's interesting, not most of them. And so I feel like there's an opportunity there for them to do some of this work. And I think that that demographic of people, we have suffered some of the worst. And so I think that's who really could use it. Not that anyone else doesn't. But so anyway, I just want to speak to that community, and I want to be a beacon of light. And I just hope that they reach out, and I'll, do the best that I can to assist.
Beautiful. Dope. Well, thank you so much, Lynette, for opening up and sharing with us.
I want to be your friend even more now. Not that we aren't, but
me too.
Will you be my godmother?
La madrina.
Be my madrina.
Okay, so this wraps up the second special episode of The Fallen Fruit. Thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to find us on Instagram at The Fallen Fruit
Podcast. The Fallen Fruit Podcast.
Dope. So find us, and please, if you like us, please share us with other people that you think might dig what we're dropping. And peace.
Bye.